we are here at the Mercantile, and your adventure for this area starts right here. Go inside, get yourself a nice little something from the store, and then they have a free tour through the area, going over all of the buildings that they've rebuilt or moved to a different spot. And everything that they go over here is really unique for the area and interesting information. So let's jump into that tour right now. Now, the main road that comes through the town is actually part of the Oregon Trail. They would have come straight through here onto the major cities, and so they've got this nice little signage and memorial of a type, I guess, that kind of pays some homage to the settlers that came through the area.
Good to have you here in Chesterfield. This old town was founded in 1880 by Chester Call. His house is over here. We'll go see it after here. This old cabin here was used for many things. It was used as a post office, a creamery, a bunkhouse, and a home for the Barlows. They lived here till they got their home built. This is the Barlow Home, brick home, and they built this about 1897. Lived here till they finished that one and then moved from there. He was one of the first school teachers up here, Nathan Barlow, and one of his students was a young lady who was the bishop's daughter, and he taught all grades. And she was a senior in school, and she fell in love with this teacher and asked her father if she could marry him. And he said no. You wait a year. If you feel the same, then you can marry. So they waited a year, got married, and lived in this cabin, this old cabin, till they got this built. Then they moved in, had 11 children in this home. So we'll take a look in here.
Oh, thank you. Because
he was a school teacher, we have a little schoolroom setting set up here that's kind of neat to look at. And we have some antiques in here and kind of a museum in here. So I hope you'll enjoy.
You guys ready to start school?
You can sit down and start writing on the slates if you want. That's what they used to have to write on, little slates. There you go. There's the teacher, Nathan Barlow. He was a teacher here. And if you had a little girl sitting in front of you and you pulled her hair and she let out a yell, you'd have to write, "I promise to not pull Sarah's hair again," 50 times on the board.
Means you gotta write small to fit it up there.
Write small.
Mm-hmm.
The original old school was a log house down over the edge here. That served as the first brick school. We don't know exactly where the first log school. But the first brick school was built just across here between here and the church. And it was a 2-story brick school, very nice. And it was built in 1903 and it burned in 1919. So they built another brick school up the way from it, and that burned too. So they had a hard time with lightning up there. Terrible lightning.
Ah, that makes sense.
And Mom and Dad were raised in
Chesterfield,
and had 2 babies, and they tried to make a living up here for quite a while, couldn't make it. So in 1930, they moved and went to Boise, and that's where I was born and raised. They'd come back up and show us the old town site and all the wonderful buildings, rundown buildings. So we got to hear a little bit of history about it before he passed away. This is kind of a museum back in here, different parts. One of our famous people in Chesterfield was Frank Robertson. Here's the family pictures of him. He was a famous author of Western novels. Have Gun Will Travel, Rawhide were some of his writings and others. We've got some books of his over there, in the bookcase. Lots of old implements and tools they used here in Chesterfield. This was a third hand. You could sit here and this would open up like a vise and you push down and it would close. So we got a third hand to work with. Pretty handy. Here was the cowbells.
Weird.
The old sickle for cutting the grain.
Chalkboard.
No, but why?
Oh, this is people had written on it.
Chief Washakie was a famous Indian chief in the area. He was a Shoshone. He was very friendly with the saints up here, and he helped them out a lot. All the old tools, the axes, and here's an old one-man saw. Can you imagine what they cut with that? Ice. They cut ice. That was an ice cutter.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This was a cheese cutter here they used, but this was a cheese factory. Lots of old implements. This were the molds that they used to make brick. The brick kiln was over here a ways. Cut the end of a clay hill out and made brick, sand, water, and lime to make the brick. Put it in the molds and let it sun bake for about a week. Take them out and stack them, about 2,000 of them in a brick kiln and fire them for 3 weeks. That's how they got the brick.
A lot of work to put the old brick buildings up around here.
Is that
That's
weird?
They're just
Yeah, look at that
taxidermy.
wild game there. Yeah.
Mhm.
Lots of old things here. Real top models. Decades. Medical models over here. We had the diggers come out. I don't know if you've heard the diggers TV show, but where they go out in an old place and they have their metal detectors and try to find different things. They came out here the first year they started the show and asked if they could do it, and we said yeah. So we had the first diggers show that started that particular season here in Chesterfield.
Oh, nice.
They dug up a lot of things. Of course, they returned them back to us, and here's a lot of things that they found. Little coins. These were not very rich people, so they didn't find any gold pieces, but they found some old coins and some a lot of other things.
Yes. Okay, just hold on for just a minute, okay?
And this was a post office, so we had post office boxes. One time. So it served many purposes. We're going to go over and see their home now, the brick home over here.
Okay.
School teacher. These were the original colors. We restored it back to the way it was. Furnishings and the old ice boxes here. To keep things cold. The ice man would come around about 2 or 3 times a week and give them a big chunk of ice and put it in there. And they had a melting pan where it would melt and fall into the pan and take the pan out and throw the water out. Come back in 2 or 3 days and put another chunk in. So this is quite the old ice box. Butter churn. This has paddles in it. Paddles slice cream around or churns butter. Churn there. This was the first ironing board in the valley. This over This was a baker's cabinet. They used this to cool the things that they baked. It would have holes over here that let the cool air in. They put their pies and bakery goods in here. Let them cool with the air going. This is an old vacuum cleaner, hand operated.
What is? Are we allowed to sit on the
Put it
bed
down
over
here
there?
and you pull it out, suck the dirt out of the rug, move it a bit, an inch, and do it. Imagine doing the whole carpet with that thing. And pump vacuum.
Is
That's
that
how they
cheese?
run an old foot.
Is that
Move the
cheese?
clothes through the wringer, rinse them out, and put them in
Is
the
that
wash.
cheese? Right there?
No, that's an old piece that looks kind of like bread, so we put that on the stove. So we put a little self-heating iron, and put shackles in it.
Can we sit on the bed over here?
No.
That's a bed there.
Don't sit on the bed. Okay.
There's another old washing device, an agitator. You put your clothes in the tub and put soap in, and soap and water would circulate through the old agitating washer.
I think I've seen modern versions of that for current buckets and plastic. Yep.
Yeah, very possible. Your electric carpet sweeper, brush underneath it. This is the old Brunswick phonograph. Put the needle down on it. Play. Along the canal here. Like to listen to the old records. Sewing machine. Hat rack, that was kind of nice. Here's the family over here, the Barlow family. Nathan Barlow, seated by his wife Dora and 11 children.
Yes.
They stacked them up where they had to. They had a lean-to in the back where they put some of the boys out. So they got by. This is Nathan Barlow's parents, Israel Barlow and Lucy Heap Barlow. His parents, they are my great-great-grandparents. So I have a lot of deep roots up here. The old bedrooms in here. Nice little bedroom closet, drawers.
What do you think? It'd be comfy to sleep in? No, don't sit on
We'll
it.
just look at them. We just look at them.
I bet the ladies got these ones. The boys had to sleep outside on the dirt.
Yeah, they had to sleep out here. This is kind of when after they were married, a picture of them. Dora.
And what's the
Maybe.
doll for?
That was a doll that was in the family for many years. An old doll.
Yeah,
It's an old timer.
that's creepy.
Here's the old wash tub they take their Saturday night bath in. They go by seniority, start with the oldest, work down to the youngest. And usually the baby just sat and played in the mud.
You sit
Yep. This is the colors. This is green. The old Monarch wood stove. Very practical to use. They knew how to bake in it. Cook on top.
for
Very
dinner.
practical.
What's for dinner? Dinner,
Yeah, what's for dinner?
Well, what do you want to eat?
Candy.
Candy.
You want cheese?
No.
Okay, we're gonna go up and see the founder's home.
Okay.
Let's be called. years ago, we asked the family if we could take that building. They said yes. So we took it down board by board very carefully, and brought it up here and rebuilt it exactly like it was.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, a lot of work. Chester Call was bishop in Bountiful, and he had purchased 300 head of horses from the tithing house. He needed a big wide open space to pasture them. Heard that Idaho had opened for homesteading in 1879, so he came up and opened up a homestead and a ranch up here, brought his horses up here, saw this beautiful valley, tall grass. Went back and convinced about 15 other families to join him up here. And that was the beginning of Chesterfield. The brethren came out, stood on the point of the hill where the chapel is now, and said, "This looks like Chesterfield, England, these hills. So we're going to call it Chesterfield now." Chester Call was standing there, and he said, "No, wait a minute, they'll think it was named after me." I said, "Well, you're a good man, aren't you?" He said, "Yes." So it's named for Chesterfield, England, and Chester Call. That's the official way it was named. He had 2 wives. He was polygamist.
West.
He married Mary, and they had 9 children. And this home, of course, was down there. Built a home for Sarah down the road a ways. They had 8 children. So he's very prolific and served the community very well. This was his house. We were very careful. All of the outside boards we were able to save. A lot of others. Inside we had to put a lot of new rough lumber in there. So we're going to open up and show you what it looks like inside. This is the old home. That little chair was in Nauvoo. Came across the plains with them. This is the way it looked when we took it down as a barn. It's pretty rough. That's the way it looked. This is Chester Call. This is his father and mother, Anson Call, and Mary Flint. They're my great-great-great-grandparents, so I have deep roots here. This was the old master bedroom, brass bed and all.
It's probably very fancy to have the brass
that
bed.
Pretty nice, that old brass bed. Little shoes up there.
Is this
Kind of unique. Old spurs.
Say again, Jack?
Is this a ghost town?
This is what?
Is this a ghost town?
Yeah, it's a ghost town. That means a lot of people live.
What exactly happened to be
That means a lot of people lived up here. That's what a ghost town means. That doesn't necessarily mean they come back and show themselves, but they used to live here many, many years ago. The old floor squawks and squeaks. My grandmother said they mopped the floor once a day for 2 reasons. First was to keep them clean. Second was to keep them wet, moist, and swollen. Keep the mice from coming in and keep them not so noisy. We haven't mopped this floor for a long time. Bedrooms back here. It's been a very comfortable home for them. They probably stacked the boys up in triple bunk beds or something. Little dining table. Glassware. The utensils they used in the kitchen. Butter churn. Butter mold. Bedrooms.
I found an old shirt like this with the collar button one time, and never really knew where it might have come from and whatnot. And makes sense for the attire of the back then.
Yeah. Yep, was more practical. This was a bedroom in here, and this was a graduating class at Logan Academy back about the turn of the century, and this was the way they dressed for the graduation. One of his sons up there graduated from the academy, Logan Academy.
Do you think you guys want to live here?
No. We're never living here. No food,
Oh,
nothing.
totally could live here, right?
It'd be
No,
fun.
but it doesn't have our pictures on it.
Oh, just because our pictures aren't here. There's even a phone.
Nah, it's
You
too.
guys could call your friends.
Nah, it's too. It's too.
Marker talks how they helped the Oregon Trail immigrants along the trail. This marker here.
Okay.
Now it came from horses and oxen. The cemetery's out there where the tree line is. That's the old cemetery.
Okay.
We have a grand opening every year. Memorial Day, that's our opening. We had about 2,000 people here this Memorial Day.
All right.
Decorate the fires and help celebrate the restoration of the buildings. Restoration was formed 100 years after founded, 1980. We bought 162 acres. This one in here talks about the lease. That lease was up in 2010, so the church said we leave the building and property of the Chesterfield Foundation to restore it back the way it was. So that's what we did.
Very nice.
Original pews. Original
In the wintertime, that was the best seat. In the wintertime, that was the best seat.
This area we're going to ship down in 1992. Don't play unless you put air into the billows. So you pump the air into the billows. Once you get the air in them, it's the old original piano, sacrament table. These were the original handmade bread trays. We took all the paint off this and came down to the original colors, so we painted it the original colors of the pew or the pulpit. Sacrament table. Here's how they use it. They heat up water or milk or something. They fire it up. The bishop's office was in the tithing house, which we have restored too. Tithing house. That's a classroom upstairs. About this size. This is the classroom. These are pictures of the bishop makes around the different areas. This was my grandfather, Pauline Pratt Jensen. He was the bishop of the Hilltops ward over here across the valley. He was my grandfather. He left here in 1935 and went to Idaho. I took all the metal off the doors. We put them on a polisher and polished them all up. Original hardwood.
Can I go?
These poles here.
Yeah, I was just going to say, what's the pole for?
These holes go back there, here, they curtained up and divided the classroom.
Oh.
They had lanterns here originally that would light the chapel up. After the turn of the century, batteries showing to be invented. They bought 16 big glass batteries, this big, and they bought a generator, fired those up, they put them out here in the cellar, fired the generator, charged those batteries, and ran a line to the black switches on the walls here. They had one light bulb right in the middle of the room, seating right there. And they'd flip that black switch, and that would light that light bulb. It'd last about an hour and 15 minutes. As soon as it started to waver, they said we'll have a fast closing song and prayer. The meeting would be over. We still have those batteries out here in the generator in the cellar.
Yeah.
There's no floor. Benches were built by John M. Dutton. He was a great carpenter and surely made a beautiful bend in the benches for the comfort of the seats.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm gonna get in.
All right, we had an awesome time checking out all of those buildings. There are a ton of them throughout this area here. As you can see across the valley, it spans. And if you are into the older buildings like this, especially the ones that the pioneers built as they came across the plains, it is a awesome view to be able to go inside of these and see some of the architecture, etc. Totally worth a little bit of a drive it is to get all the way out here.